Very good, thank you. Yes, thank you. Thanks for looking at that. So, one of the things that's really, really interesting is in the eyes of a professional or sophisticated investor, crowdfunding carries a very, very important function. It's proof that somebody wants this. It's really important proof. So if you go on out a campaign like this and you've got 500 ordinary people, each of them putting $1,000 in, and you then come to a professional investor and say, I've got 500 people, they're already backing me, and they're going to go, oh really now? Well, that's interesting. As opposed to, hey, I've got this great idea and I want to raise some money and I don't really know if anybody likes me. So it's actually a way of creating proof that you're onto something. So you will often see that basically after the crowdfunding campaign, there's a professional investor round coming after that to basically top it up. So you might say, well, I really need to raise $1 million, but I know there's no way I can get $1 million out of this. But maybe I get $300,000 out of this, and then I can use that as proof to take it to the next level. So you see again and again, I'm giving you examples of how you basically stacking it. These days it can be hard, and it depends on your business, but it can be hard to get all the money in one go from a single source. It's just the nature of the beast. Peter?
Are there any publicity or potential conflicts of crowdfunding when you're wanting to move into a highly professional area? So with the perception that you're scraping around trying to get $10 here and there?
No.
There's not a perception that it's a less credible funding.
No, because again, you determine what the thresholds are. If it's something that is a highly professional thing, maybe the minimum investment runs $1,000, not $10. So yes, the platform doesn't sort of drag it down at all. Just a tool. Okay, so back to this journey here. So the crowdfunding can come in a number of different places. And different kinds of crowdfunding can come in different places. Right? With me so far? Anyone fallen asleep yet? No? Good. So, what are we going to do next? Let's see, what have we got here? Family offices. Does everybody know what a family office is?
No.
You shaking yes, we've got to cover that bit. So imagine that you, as a family, have made a lot of money. And maybe you sold a business that's been in the family's 3 generations, or 1 generation, whatever. But it's you, your mom and dad, maybe a couple of sisters, brothers, uncles, whatever. And that's how a lot of these family offices get started. So typically there's some kind of like an exit of some sort, there's a sale. Sometimes they've sold lots of different things out. And basically it's a way of managing the collective wealth of that family. It's a very, very simple way of looking at it. So the family offices come in a couple of different flavors, and I think it's important to understand that. So there are the big family offices, like in Melbourne we have the Myer family office, fairly well known. But there's a lot of totally unknown family offices because they hold 20, 50, 75, whatever $million. So they're not huge, they're not billions of dollars, but they're still big enough for you to pay attention to them, for them to potentially matter to you. They're just really, really hard to find because, again, they don't put a shingle out and say, hey, we've got $50 million in the bank and we'd like to hand it out to anyone that passes by on Pitt Street, right, or on Queen Street. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. So you need to put a lot of effort into figuring out what they are because it takes time.
Is that a benefactor?
Yeah, so typically the family office is set up with a set of beneficiaries that are typically the descendants of the family, right? But in the meantime, it's managing the money of the family in a way that they see they get a decent return out of it. And there's really 2, again, models within that. You either have a professional investment management team that basically they're employees and basically they do all the investment management. But in the smaller ones, you'll actually find that you're still speaking to, if you will, the people that are part of the family, to the principal, to the guys that actually earn the money. and they don't have that intermediary layer. Sure, they're going to have a financial advisor, they're going to have an accountant, of course, they're going to have professionals to help them, but they haven't delegated out, they still hold on to it. And they can often be much easier to talk to. They're just harder to find. So you can actually look up family offices. There's several directories on those, but it's not terribly helpful because it's just a whole bunch of websites and, you know, info at kind of emails. See how far you're going to go with that. So I think the other ones here are fairly, probably this one here requires a bit more explanation as well. So is everybody familiar with what an angel investor is? General knowledge, a couple of shakes. Okay, let's make sure we cover all the shakes then. So what an angel investor is someone that is like a business angel. Like in other words, we say they're there to give you often the first external money. You don't have a prior relationship with them, but they somehow take pity on you or your idea or whatever else, and go, all right, I'll give you some money. The problem with the angel, the whole terminology of angel investing is that there's a lot of people in there that aren't necessarily investing substantial amounts of money. You get $50,000 and say, I want to invest my 50K in lots of 10 and call yourself an angel investor. It's not like a protected title. It's not like you an accountant or something else like that where you've got to have a particular qualifications to do this. And so the problem is that you may meet lots of people at cocktail parties or events or whatever, and they'll say, hey, I'm an angel investor. You go, right, that's fantastic. And you start thinking about how many millions of dollars they have until you have get the guts to actually ask them, how much do you sort of typically invest in? Oh, I haven't invested anything yet. Oh, okay. So when you find something, what do you think is going to be your typical, spot size? Oh, 20K. And you go, right, well, lovely talking to you. What the hell am I doing here? So, but it's just like, exactly. It's like, you'll burn it in a month, right? It's like, you need a lot of those kind of guys. Where angel investing has a lot of meaning is in the organized angel groups. So in Melbourne, we have Melbourne Angels. So the purpose of an angel group is angel investors, each putting small amounts of money in, but because they act as a group, suddenly we get a series result. So you might go to an angel group like Melbourne Angels and they've got an application process, you've got to go to their website, you get vetted and whatever not. But if they're investing, they would typically invest 100, maybe 200, maybe slightly more than that, but something in that kind of range. And suddenly you go, oh, that makes sense. But say the 200 might be put together of 10 different investors and you put 20K in. And suddenly you go, okay, that's fair enough, that's reasonable. So there's a way for them to spread the risk, but there's also a way for you to bulk up the investment, and therefore you get something serious about all the time you spend pitching and talking to them and getting through the vetting process. So if you haven't been to the Melbourne Angels website, I would strongly urge you to go there. If they have an open lunch that they run every last Friday of the month, and I try and time my visits to Melbourne so that I can be at these. I think I did the last 3 in a row, but I think at the moment my schedule is slightly off kilter compared to when they have their lunches, but I would highly recommend you go. If for no other reason, because you're going to hang out with people that are in that kind of mindset of investing, and you're going to hang out with other people, entrepreneurs like yourself, that are in the mindset of seeking investment, and you'll pick up the banter. You'll understand the terminology, you'll understand what it is that's being talked about. You're probably not going to, I'm not expecting you're going to walk in there with lunch, get investment. That would be ludicrous bullshit. It's not going to happen. But you will learn a lot, and you'll learn a lot about the thinking. And you might from that go, hey, maybe this is right for me, and you can go and apply, but there's a formal process for that. So I strongly urge you to do that. Call me at melbourneangels.co.com or something like that if you Google it, you can't miss it. So, by the way, that was not a paid announcement, but I know the guys in Melbourne Angels very well, and they take it very, very seriously. They are here because they actually give a shit. I think I can put it as blunt as that on their behalf. So, high net worth is a different kettle of fish in the sense that they might also be part of an angel group, but they, in their own capacity, would go out and invest individually. So definitions of high net worth are obviously varying, but if you're going to have a sophisticated investor certificate, what is you're going to have $5 million of investors? Where's Andrew gone? He can answer that question. But it's like there's a lot of people out there that are acting as private individual investors and like this kind of space. Almost all of them have made their own money. They didn't inherit it, they didn't have a rich uncle, they probably didn't steal it, most of them didn't do cocaine, they just made the money. And they had an exit, or they had a trade sale, or they had whatever they had, and they're kind of bitten by this bug that going, oh yeah, but I can see all these great businesses, I'll take a punt on that. And the difficulty with that is that you're dealing with their own money. They had to earn it first before you squandered it, right? So it's not about you're going to treat it with more or less care than other categories of money. You're going to treat it with the same care as every other category of money, but it might be a little bit harder sometimes to extract it out. In other words, it's going to take longer to build that trust. On the other hand, it might also be quicker because there's only one person you're going to convince. It's the guy that has the money, or the girl. It's as simple as that. If he or she says, yes, I like you, I'm going to give you the money, well, that's it. Done. Whereas many of these other categories are going to ask the accountant, they're going to ask the lawyers, they're going to ask the financial advisor, the investment dude, or whatever not. And before you know it, 3 months later, there's a bloody coterie of, it's like a long list of all these people that got to tick the box, and it takes forever. Okay, sorry?
Just a quick question, you were talking about high net worth people. Where do you find they generally hang out? Like where? In a non-selfish way.
In a non-selfish way. Okay, let's take that one offline. We'll go to a bar tonight. Look, if I knew the answer to that, I would probably have made the list and charged $10,000 pop to publish that list, and I wouldn't do anything else. The reality is that there is no such list. The reality is that you meet investors in all sorts of strange places, like walking the dog park with lots of dog food. I mean, I had a funny experience of one of many. I mean, all of those investor experiences I know, they're all kind of weird coincidences. You know, I was attending this, it was towards the end of last year. It's a fairly high-end event with around biotech investing in Sydney, and there's all these investors and there's big US funds presenting and all that kind of stuff, and there's a bunch of us in the room, and I know several of the other people who are, oh hey, how are you doing, whatever not, and at the end of it I was sort of hanging back as the crowd was thinning out, because I wanted to chat to an old acquaintance of mine because I hadn't seen her for a long time, and she was talking to this other guy. And so I sort of got in, as you do, and waiting in line until sort of they can let me into the conversation. And I sort of glide into that conversation. She takes off, and him and I start talking, and we then walk out together and say, oh, so what do you do? Oh, I'm an investment manager for blah, blah, blah. This weird, totally obscure name of a business. Never heard of it. Okay. So we walk out, and we start talking down on the street, and spend another 20 minutes out on Pitt Street in Sydney. And I go, so what's this investment firm, so what's it do? Oh, we manage so-and-so's money. And I shan't mention it because we're on camera who that money is. Let's just say it's one of the single biggest construction empires in Australia. And he says, and I say to him, so what do you do now? We've sold out of all our construction assets. So what do you have? Oh, we just got a big money tank. We're trying to figure out what to do with the money. And I'm going, holy hell. It's like we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars here. Massive amounts of wealth. And this guy's managed their money for 20 years. And it's just, it could be you, I mean, just a random person that you sort of, it doesn't look anything special, anything different than all of us. Yep.
Just on the comment on a few things I can actually contribute to this.
Please.
Sporting events and sports functions, like you talk about high net worth individuals.
Yep.
One of the great, I only say this because my partner currently works at Melbourne Cricket Club. And it's just, it's the great level, and no matter what level of sort of stature or whatever it is, everyone comes together.
Yep.
Whether or not you're into it or not, it's a great place to strike up a conversation. And
I agree.
In that sort of
Yes.
environment.
So
what do you do? I am this person. Oh, cool.
Can I have your number? number.
Yeah.
You know, I'll give you another funny story. So it's really, I mean, this is very much about networking, and I think that's really what you say. Whether it's cricket or footy or tennis or whatever, you go on networking. Obviously, there's a difference between sitting on the cheapest seat and being in the corporate box. You can figure out what people hang out where. So I went to this function about a month ago that was organised by Laundry over in down in Docklands in the Good Shed. And you know, there's a whole bunch of people, somehow standing on the stage, and it's quite frankly, it's a bit boring. I'm staying there with a drink in my hand and going, okay, what on earth am I going to do for the next hour? And I spot this woman that's sort of standing to my left, and I look at her and go, oh, she's nicely dressed. That's expensive, really expensive. It's like, oof. But she's really expensive stuff, but she still dressed it down very deliberately. Going, yeah, right, I can see through that. So I sort of, g'day, how are you? Oh, what do you do? She goes, oh yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out what to do next. I go, okay, what's that mean? Oh yeah, sold out of the family business a few months ago. Yeah, we've been doing it for 15 years. I was managing it and trying to figure out what to do next. Can I be phone number? You know, it's really, seriously, it's like, you just got to train your eye to where are these people and what do they look like, and not be afraid to walk up and have a conversation and say, hey, do you mind if I give you a call? We might have something we can help you with. And most of those conversations obviously lead nowhere, but you've got to give it a try, because if you're not giving it a try, you're definitely not going to get there. It's a lot of groundwork, it's a lot of footwork. And the best advice I can give to any one of you is if you have 2 evenings free every week, go network. If you've got 3 evenings free every week, go network. If you get to 4, that's probably your dean, but you should be able to do 2 or 3 evenings every single week. That means you do 100, 150 functions in a year. You will meet a ton of people. And it's got to be your duty to follow up on all those people, treat them nicely, put them into your database, stay in touch, and tell them what's going on. It's not more complex than that. So, any other questions? Sorry?
Whereabouts on Pitt Street?
There is always a sacrifice if you want to get what you want to have. So Peter?
Whereabouts on Pitt Street?
It's all right.
In front of the old NZ branch where it used to be.
Just look for the drill.
Exactly.
Looking for the drilling on the ground.
So is this clear? Cool. Now, yeah, go on.
In terms of contacts, where does the LinkedIn crowd fit into that?
Yeah.
Social media.
Social media in general, I think, fits in with, it's a way of distributing information and it's a way of connecting with people. My view is that if you've got to connect with anyone, you've got to have a purpose connecting. Like just going click connect and hoping that something's going to happen. Generally speaking, it doesn't get you very far. But if there's a reason why you connect, like say just a couple of days ago, I connected with, what's her name, one of the presenters on Channel 9. Now why? Because she filmed a segment that my friend is in, and so she will see that we're connected, and it was a project that I was on the stage talking about as well. So there's an obvious direct connection. She's a pretty smart woman. So it's like, I didn't need to write a long message saying, no, I would like to stay in touch, saw your segment really well done. It was just like, hey, let's connect. And in other cases, I always write a little message and saying, hey, I saw you doing blah, 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 would love to stay in touch, would love to have a chat with you about that, or whatever it might be. And I think if you are committed with pure intentions, if there is such a thing, then people respond in kind. I mean, obviously, if you're the predatory stalker, then nobody wants to know you. I think that cuts out most of the people in the room, but it's just like, you know, people want to hang out in a social network. Guess it's a social network. So it's rare